Hey, let me do a dark episode for August the 2nd, 2021. I was watching an interview with Lindsay Ellis on kind of a financial podcast. But it was like the financial costs of being canceled. Like, professional kind of economics, I guess, of being canceled. And I was thinking about it in conjunction with there was the cancel culture tag, which I did, and then decided I did not want to release my version of it on my main channel just because it just churned up a lot. Churned up for a lot for me. I talked about stuff that didn't need to get talked about in a public forum. Just felt really shitty about it. And it was interesting looking at Lindsay Ellis as somebody who, uses something like Twitter to promote herself, does comment on stuff. She is a critic, someone who talks about kind of like Disney movies and things like that. And she made some comments, and she got kind of, people took after her for it, and it became a mob for what were some seemed like fairly innocuous statements that people just, at least from my point of view, it seemed like people were definitely trying to take the worst reading of and then just really run with it, and then concerted effort that often happens when you get mobs of people compiling a dossier of saying like, well, this may sound innocuous, but when we comb through 10-15 years of all her activity on the internet and add it all up together, well, then you can see that this is why we're reading this terribly. Like, okay. And it's definitely seems to me like a fairly clear case of this is not people speaking truth to power. This is people using social media to gang up and whack away at somebody, whether for larger gains, whether it's just for the kind of the high of, this is the person I get to feel better than today, or I get the quip off about today. Someone, I think Lindsay saying, people have lost the ability to just say, I don't like that person. Now it's got to be, it's not that I don't like this person, it's that they are morally problematic. They are a bad person, and thus they should never be allowed to rear their head again, except in shame and thing. And we're going to pursue them to the ends of the earth. It's like, it becomes that kind of thing. And I think about that with the cancel culture stuff. There is undoubtedly positive sides, but then I guess I'm deciding who are the targets that are rightly to get attacked, and then who are the wrong ones. And I do think about, I called someone out on the internet, and it did have an effect. We didn't cancel the guy, but he definitely left our community, and moved to Shingle just a little bit down the road, and he's continuing on doing his stuff. Though obviously, from his point of view, he feels hurt. I mean, I don't think he feels betrayed by me, because I didn't know him before. I just knew him as somebody who watched his videos. Though I guess, Lindsay Ellis does talk about, it being one of these things of, it somewhat poisons her relationship with her fans, because her audience, because she has to kind of be careful. She always has to think, is this going to be something that's going to get taken and used against me on every point? I've got to be super clear. I've got to make sure I've dotted all my I's and T's in a way that hinders creativity. I mean, I look at my case, and it was somebody who presented one face on the channel and then was acting a very different way to females that he encountered through the account, their account, that he was hitting upon, and stuff like that. Which definitely riled me up. And I think I don't know, I still rightly think so. Yeah. I mean, I still have that video up calling him out, and I haven't taken it down, and so far, I don't think I would. Yeah. I don't know. It's just I mean, it's one of those things. I listen to Lindsay Ellis and I think, okay, I'm really glad that I think I made a Twitter account. I posted one thing like, I'm feeling bored today, and that was the last thing I did. I didn't have anyone I wanted to follow, and I never got onto it. That account died, and yeah, I just don't think it's something that appeals to me, and I'm glad it doesn't, because it doesn't sound like it's a great place. It's a, some accident waiting to happen for anybody, especially someone isn't as inept as myself. I sort of like the coolness of YouTube in that there's some impediments to back and forth. Like, people can have reaction videos and they can have comments between videos, but it's very much slower process. You're physically on camera, or your voice is physically on camera, like in this video, and it slows things down, and it makes for a slightly less hot environment, whereas Twitter, people can zap off little comments to each other super quickly, anonymously, facelessly, and it's a much hotter environment. I think I will go with the coolness, the slowness of YouTube any day there. And this is a very sleepy part of YouTube that I'm talking about, BookTube in general, and then my own little private little cul-de-sac dead end street that no one comes down, that no one has the map to. So I mean, that's there's sides for the positive sides of something like, of what's called cancel culture or call out culture. There are definitely examples, like something like Lindsay Ellis, which you just got to think, and I mean, it's like, having watched her video on it, Mask Off, and her interview with this financial woman, it's like, you can see that it's ground her down. And I mean, she's sort of gotten to the point of like, yeah, I don't give a fuck anymore. This is what's happened. This is how I feel. I just don't give a fuck anymore. Just don't give a fuck. And you can see that in her. It's like a certain amount of pain, a certain amount of just exhaustion. It's like, fuck. And, her saying like, I've got 7 employees, or I would have just stopped. If it wasn't for the fact that, 7 people were depending on me for the livelihood, I would just stop. I would just not be doing this anymore, which is like a horrible, horrible place to be in. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. More videos later.